One Team Media.
Welcome to the DGD Podcast.
Juan Daniels, touchdown, Georgia.
This is your favorite receiver, Juan Daniels, and you're listening to the DGD Podcast with my man, Robert Reynolds. Go Dogs!
Welcome to this episode of the DGD Podcast. As always, your host, Robert Reynolds, joined with me by Juan Daniels. Got a lot to talk about, guys. Kind of a bye week almost. Unfortunately for the Vanderbilt Commodores, right? 62-0. If you were here last week, you would understand that these score predictions that myself and Juan here were almost all on it. Juan, I know you had the shutout. I was 1 point off of what Georgia predicted, what they scored. So we, like I said, right there on it. Let's go ahead and talk about that right there. But before we do, got a lot to cover. And look, Lots of Rain watches, man. The show is brought to you by Lots of Rain. And look, lotsofrain.com, la-terrain.com. Great watches. Atlas, beautiful watch, all black, right? Going on sale right now. I think there's like 5 left. Use code DGD at checkout. Get 10% off your purchase. You'll love the gear. You'll love everything they got. I promise you. Juan, let's go ahead and jump straight into this. I want to hear your takeaways on the Vanderbilt game.
From the jump, this is what we were hoping for. We were hoping for them to jump out on them 35-0 in the first quarter. That was awesome. It was all gas, no brakes. Everything that we talked about before. What Vanderbilt did to us last year, they canceled on us. We pretty much buried them. This is something that we talked about. Running backs, they ran the ball well. We caught the ball well. We got a lot of people that just, got some good playing time. But this is the dominance that we are expecting out of Georgia. You go from a South Carolina completely dominate and crush them, then the Vanderbilts, who you're supposed to beat. They go out there and then just beat them pretty good. So I was very pleased offensively, defensively. I knew that they weren't going to score. I knew it was going to be tough sledding for them the entire game.
What caught me off guard was how efficient our offense was, even after our, even when our backups came in. Obviously you expect what JT did. I didn't expect him to go out after a quarter. One takeaway there, you covered the spread with time left in the first quarter. And to me, when I saw that and looking into, just the first quarter, I was like, okay, basically went about my day. Like I had stuff to do. I was like, let's go ahead and get this done. We already knew, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't something that I needed to sit here and watch. I wanted to, and I kept up with it, but I wasn't able to watch. That was just what this game was about. And you know what? I honestly think you sit here, you look at last year with them canceling. I think those guys didn't forget. And, you look at the defensive output, guys like Jordan Davis only played, I think, not even 10 snaps. So you're getting a bunch of guys, quality reps, which is going to lead into, games like Arkansas, right? This 4-game stretch that we got with Arkansas, Auburn, obviously ending with Florida. That's going to be crucial.
Yes.
Right? It was just beautiful to see a shutout, regardless of who the opponent is. This. It's difficult to put a shutout on anybody.
Yes.
So, if you had to choose one person for your player of the game, who would it be?
Wow. There's so many, but you know what? I would say JT Daniels, even though he only played a quarter, he went out there and he led that team. It's not very easy to score 35 points in a quarter. I don't care who you are, but that's the type of leadership that we've been expecting from JT Daniels. Hurt or not, we obviously don't know, but he didn't play like it and he stepped up. He was a leader. He's my player of the game. He got it sparked. He got it started, and he did it to the point to where, hey, I'm going to leave my guys 3 quarters to go out there and improve and get better. And keep our first string or keep our top guys healthy going into this Arkansas game.
I had called JT to be the player of the game only on the behalf that I expected him to play more than a quarter. I like the take there. I think my player of the game is Ladd McConkey. I would consider that a breakout game, but if you've been understanding and you've watched the game, you kind of understand that it was just a matter of time.
Three touchdowns for him. That's pretty good.
I mean, you had, like you said, 3 touchdowns for Ladd. I mean, there was so much to take away from this. I think one of my favorite plays, though, obviously, Ladd Moss is the guy in the end zone. Yeah. But what about Brock Bowers with the tight end jet sweep? Not just the jet sweep, the tight end jet sweep.
Yeah.
From your perspective, I think that was Georgia, just imposing itself. What are your thoughts on that tight end sweep? It's just something you don't see.
Well, you absolutely don't. But I mean, he's almost kind of making himself kind of like that hybrid guy, almost kind of like that Kyle Pitts guy. He's got the speed, but the only reason that he gets that tight end jet sweep is because of the speed that he showed in the past couple of games. I mean, so, what I love what Georgia's doing is they're finding a way to get their top players the football. And so, imagine what that's going to look like. Obviously we're going to get Darnell back as a tight end. So you got a 2 tight end set. You can actually make him now a receiver. He's still running the jet sweep. I mean, Georgia, and I'll tell you what, the offensive coordinator Monken is doing a great job of just using all of his skill guys. So now, for Arkansas, who do you cover? Who do you take away? Who do you shut down? It's going to be, they're going to have matchup problems all day.
Obviously when it comes to Arkansas, we're going to have a good show for that tomorrow. Obviously you sit there, you take away what Arkansas did, right? Beating A&M at Jerry World, right? So, obviously you look at Sam Pittman, what he's doing there is beyond impressive. Even last year, I was under the expectation that if they won 3 games, that's a huge statement for him. Obviously being a first-year head coach, he wins 3 games exactly, gets the extension, and now you see him and his team is in the top 10. So obviously, there's a lot to look at here, but when it comes to Vanderbilt, it was just interesting to me just how overmatched Vanderbilt was from just a size standpoint, talent standpoint. It's insane. You look at Jordan Davis, like I said, he only played, 8 or 9 snaps. And, to sit here and watch guys like Quay Walker, just obliterate the run game, pressure without even trying almost. It just kind of leads me to, how can this defense get any better? I'm sure there are ways to get better, but how can that happen if you're sitting there and you're just that, what's the best word here? Dominant, right? How do you get better on defense? You're getting these guys a bunch of reps, right? And you sit there getting these guys back. You get Tyke Smith on the defense. Darnell's coming back, and there's a lot that I can see from Darnell's return that's going to help our offense. And honestly, I think that's going to be in the run game. A lot of people forgot about it, but the dude is a legit blocker.
Yes.
So, you can only expect with Darnell coming back that our run game is going to get better. With our pass game, it balances out, I would think, become a complete team and a true, legit national title contender.
Yeah. I mean, they look good. Mitchell looked good, from a receiver standpoint. I'm excited about the things that are coming. And obviously, too, there was some buzz around campus about Pickens being out there kind of dressed out a little bit, too. So, I think during this stretch of October is where we're really, the month of September basically was just scrimmage practice. Now, come October was what we talked about. Now it's time to blow the doors open.
And I think you have to do that, right? With the next 4 games, definitely the hardest stretch you're going to see. Obviously you look at Arkansas, probably the toughest game we're going to play, arguably beside Florida for a lot of people. Obviously that 4-game stretch with a bye week leading into Florida, it's really going to tell what Georgia is. Are we legit like we think we are? Or, is it just a testament to some teams that we've played that, might not be the best? we'll definitely find out our identity within these next 4 games. And it starts next week, or this week actually, against Arkansas. But I do think that we can take away some things from the Vanderbilt game. You know, what do elite teams do, right? When you have a schedule, when you have an outmatched opponent, you take care of business, you make it out of hand, and there's no question. You do what you have to do. Georgia showed that, certain things that, I don't see in the past, playing down the competition. Georgia didn't do that. And I think that's a step in the right direction by all means.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like they just opened it up and they were hitting on all cylinders. I mean, and that's great to see. I mean, this is the Georgia that we've been talking about. And I mean, and here's the thing. In years past, everybody would say Georgia had the top recruiting class. Georgia, this is going to be their year. This is going to be their year. They're stacked. They have everything. And then they would go and play and beat a Marshall team like 20-10. Or they'll go and beat a UAB team, maybe 23-3 or something like that. Whereas this year, you can say Georgia has the opportunity. We talked about it, in the preseason show about them, winning the national championship and about them starting off, beating Clemson and then just getting and improving better, more and more each day. And it's actually coming to fruition right now because what's happening is they are, I said, whoever improves the most after that Clemson game is going to be the one that's going to, that's going to be, the national champion. Georgia, each and every game has improved. They have not taken any steps back.
No, without a doubt, that's not the case. Everybody wants this national narrative of, Georgia recruiting, especially under Kirby Smart, recruiting and then just not getting it done. I think it's a lazy take. You sit there and you can argue the SEC championship, the national title game for damn sure. But you look at it this year, you're seeing a lot of parity, which I want to get to in just a second. But Georgia's sitting here and they're a top 2 team, arguably number 1, and it's not even close. It really isn't even close. And there's questions about Bama, all right, from that Florida game that I'm still trying to figure out exactly which it is. And I think, honestly, Bama, we're about to find out what that defense is about Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, Ole Miss is coming into town, buddy. And
I'm telling you now, that's going to be a damn good game. I'm already
and it's great too. You've got the Ole Miss quarterback. He is that he's in the Heisman mentions, and then of course you've got Bryce that's also in the Heisman mentions. So Ole Miss runs that fast break offense. I think offensively they are a lot better than Florida. So we'll get an opportunity to see what's going to happen right there.
Looking at it though, right? Ole Miss does present a threat offensively that Florida, what they're trying to do, but they're just on an elite level. Like you said, I think they're just way better offensively. Now, defensively, there's still that question. Bryce Young, I'm expecting him to go the hell off. I think it's going to be a shootout again. But I want to get your thoughts on this. Did you hear about yesterday the Wilbon take on Lane Kiffin? Did you hear about that?
No, I did not.
Oh, man. Basically, to me, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase here in my own expectation, in my own, thoughts in here. Basically just, called Lane a clown. Nobody wants him, things like this, and basically used his past, from Oakland and Tennessee and USC, but to me, I heard the greatest take on this in defense of Lane on the J-Boy show yesterday. Shout out J-Boy. Sitting there basically just saying, people can grow up. And I think that's something, that's more than football here. I think Lane's in a situation where, the fan base loves him. I think he's in a good spot where he's got a Heisman finalist. It's just going to make it happen. I have a feeling he's going to be the Heisman winner, Matt Corral. Kid is just a ridiculous player. So to me, like, I thought it was just a bunch of real BS, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know if you heard it or not, but
no, I don't. But I mean, here's the thing: Lane Kiffin. You can say whatever you want to say about him, but he's been successful at all the places that he's been. And again, he is, in my opinion, solely responsible for that turnaround in Alabama's offense. He completely turned them into, from a quarterback being a game manager and let's run the ball and play defense to, hey, we're wide open. And then you get, again, we already talked about this last week, 3 guys that are starting in the NFL, quarterbacks at Alabama. And then you got 3 four maybe great receivers that are starting in there. Before that, it was Julio Jones, and then you had Riddle, and that's it. I mean, when it came to Alabama receivers, and now they're just pumping them out, and here's the other thing too. You got a quarterback that is probably going to be up for the Heisman. There's a struggle right now between Ole Miss and Georgia with Arch Manning. So, I mean, he's got Ole Miss in his heart. And then he's going to look at, man, which program am I going to want to go to? Lane Kiffin, he's airing the ball out. He's got a fast break offense, and that's a quarterback's dream. He's going to get recruits. He's going to get the receivers. He's going to say, he's going to get those people to say, you know what? Ole Miss might be a great place because of Lane Kiffin. So,
you're absolutely right. I think that's something that, you look at. Well, it's not even just a pass game. They have the ability to run the ball. They're running the ball at a great clip too. But that's the thing about Lane Kiffin. He's an instant solve for an offense if you have a problem. And, Jay Shipes here, says, right here, he says, I love UGA, but the hate that Kiffin gets, makes him root for him. And I kind of agree.
Yeah. And he also said Bama wouldn't be, where they are without Kiffin. And I agree with that 100%, because what Nick Saban had to do after Kiffin left, he had to go get somebody that was similar, who is Steve Sarkisian. So he had to, the guys that he's bringing in, and then if, he gets the guy from the Giants, he has to maintain that same type of offense and that same type of thing, or you know what, they're going to fall off. They really are.
I mean, like you said, you're absolutely right. And really, Kiffin was the guy that forced Saban and Alabama as a program to evolve. Before that, you have to look at what Bama was about. Guys like, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, right? TJ Yeldon. You sit there and you bring in Lane Kiffin, and you automatically see that evolution on the offense to a passing game. They open up the passing game, and that brings in guys like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs. The list goes on. Now, obviously, you did have guys like Julio, Amari Cooper, all those guys. Look, that's just what they do. They push out receivers, at a legendary clip. But the evolution of the offense changed completely. The identity of what Alabama is offensively is nothing compared to what you would see not even 8 years ago.
Yeah,
and you really have to give testament to Lane Kiffin for that. So, I'm with the people that thought that was just a lazy take. That just tells me that you haven't paid attention to him in the past few years. Because what has he done recently that causes controversy? You haven't really heard much. The last thing it was the USC and the Tennessee gig.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, you got to understand too, that even though they are saying all of these things, you have to be of a certain caliber if Nick Saban is going to take a chance on you. So, despite all of that past that he had and everything that was going on, Nick Saban said, no, I still want you. So he brought in something, or he had some ideas that were good enough for Nick Saban. And then, of course, the result is Nick Saban, having these national championships.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, you talk about, bringing in Lane Kiffin, right? Nick Saban has a history of that too. You look at Sark with his history at Washington with I think it was the alcohol issue that he got situated.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Bring him in and sit there and kind of purify him, if you want to say.
Yep.
Give him a second shot on the biggest stage. Shine bright. Next thing you know, FAU for Kiffin. Kiffin moves and goes straight to Ole Miss. The rest is history so far. And that's the same with Sark at Texas, right? You get these guys with problems, brings them in, cleans them up. There you go. So you get this Saban tree, right? Which I want to translate to the Tucker, right? You look at these guys, Michigan State, Colorado a little bit. You sit there, obviously Sam Pittman, right? Sam Pittman at Arkansas, top 10 program. Kirby's starting to get that too, right? What are your thoughts on that?
On these, you talking about all these other guys, or just for Kirby?
Well, no, I mean for Kirby, I think that do you see similarities to Saban, or do you kind of see Kirby doing his own thing?
I actually kind of see, Kirby he's starting to evolve, and he's starting to kind of do his own thing, but he's starting to get those players. I mean, we had, a couple of commits last week and there's some guys that I personally know that are that have already committed. You got a guy, he's going to go up there Saturday. He plays at North Cobb, quarterback named Malachi Singleton, and he is a stud. I mean, like I said, we played him firsthand 2 years in a row. He's a monster, and I think he is. He's excited. He's going up there with the nylon. So, them going out there having a strong showing against Arkansas or any team that they play with these Georgia guys, these recruits going, is going to be awesome. And so, there's a good possibility too that they may get some guys to flip, going from other places as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But Kirby is doing some special things at Georgia, and it starts with defense. Defense wins championships, and I just see a lot of these teams just having a very, very difficult time scoring on us.
And speaking of defense, and speaking of commits, the chain is out, my friends.
Sir, yes, sir.
Kalen Lee, Cedar Grove, cornerback for the class of 23, commits yesterday. And, I'm looking at him, from what I saw, everybody I think has that viral clip of him hitting that receiver. I think that tells you exactly what you're getting out of Kalen. It's just a dog, you know what I mean? I think he's going to fit perfectly in Georgia's defense, especially you look at 2022, 2023, these defensive classes, they're reloading. And with all you're losing on the defense, you have to reload. And that's just another piece to the puzzle for Kirby. And, he's right at 6 feet. I think 5'11" is what he's listed at. He'll probably grow to 6 feet.
Yeah, but he's a big guy. I mean, we scrimmaged him. We scrimmaged Cedar Grove. So, I mean, we basically scrimmaged two Georgia players, from Cedar Grove. And they were very, very dominant. They were and he's aggressive. He's fast. He's physical. And that lines directly up with the Georgia guys. And here's the great thing too is if you're going to Georgia, especially in the defense and defensive backfield or line, you're going to be coached to a level that no one else in the country has actually been coached to. Because think about it, we lost a lot of guys last year, and so that was the question going into that Clemson game: will Clemson be able to take advantage of that young secondary? And you would have never thought that any of those guys were not returning starters. That's how good they were. That's how well they were coached up.
Oh no, you look at you got Christian Miller, which is still the guy there that's uncommitted, huge on Georgia's radar too, very high on Georgia's radar. That team right there is just ridiculous on multiple levels. And like you said, you've had him firsthand. Kid's actually longer than he perceives out to be too, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, he is.
So he can cover, he can hit. Kirby obviously wants those DBs that's going to sit there and come down and hit you, right? That's just the way Kirby wants to play.
Right.
So, like I said, ultimately, Kalen Lee, man, is going to be a perfect fit in this defense. Whether Lennon sticks around, whether Schumann takes over, Muschamp takes over, it doesn't matter. Kid's going to be a stud. This is point blank. Yeah. And obviously, while we're on commitments, Oscar Delp is, I'm going to say he announced his commitment date for
16th.
October 13th or so.
13th or the 16th.
Yeah. So one of those 2 days, I want to say the 13th. I have to confirm.
Okay.
What does Oscar bring? If he chooses to, because I think right now, ultimately, he's got a Final Four with Michigan, Clemson, South Carolina, and Georgia. I think it's South Carolina, Georgia, and I feel really good about him coming to Georgia. What would Oscar Delp bring to this tight ends room, and really for Todd Hartley, and add another one if he does commit?
I mean, he's going to be able to do the same thing. He's going to be able to run jet sweeps. He's got the speed. So, I watched their opening, not the opening game, but their opening scrimmage over against Lanier. That's right around the corner from my house. They had him at wideout. They had him in the slot. They had him at tight end. And he can move and he runs great routes as if he were a wide receiver. He runs great routes as a tight end. He blocks. He's very smart too, finding holes in that zone, settling down and just a very cerebral player. So, I mean, you're going to get, just an additional weapon that you can do anything that you want to with him. I mean, you line him up in the slot, there's not going to be a linebacker that's going to be able to cover him. I mean, if you line him out up against a defensive back, he's going to be bigger than that guy. He may not be faster, but he's going to be able to make plays, going down the field. So, if they get him, I mean, Georgia's going to have a huge payday. I mean, a huge payday. So whoever's doing payroll for Georgia, boy, you got to get ready because they're going to be doling out some money.
I'm telling you, man, Todd Hurley better get a raise right now. Once Delp commits, right then, give my man some money. Bring the bank.
Tell that payroll person to get it together and pay the man.
Look, hey, Josh Brooks ain't afraid to sit here and make those kind of stuff. Kind of in the past, McGarity was kind of hesitant, in my opinion. Josh Brooks has shown his hesitancy, no hesitancy whatsoever to dish out all kinds of money. Because let's be honest, successful football brings out a lot of money, and he knows that. So, look, if Todd Hartley gets Delp to commit on top of what he's got in the room right now, and you sit here and you look at what he's got 2023 with Pierce Sperling, ain't nobody stopping that tight ends room.
Nope.
Nobody doing that.
Nope.
You're right. It's just an insane plethora of talent. Look, Todd Hartley gets what he wants, and it's showing right now. So and I want to ask you. I want to read this comment here. Jay asked, "What's up with all these white playmakers at Georgia?" Laughing about it. Hey, look, man, that's just a testament to Kirby finding the guys that come out.
He's finding those plays. You're going to get those McCaffreys, and you're going to get those Allstotts and those guys too. So I mean, it's it's not about being white. I mean, it's about being there, because you look at the BYUs of old. BYU, they'd come out there. It's almost an all white team, and they just come out there and just run some people over. So you'll find them. You
got to look at Mike Allstott. Like, it's just all kinds of guys. Yeah. Obviously, it's just a testament to sit here what level of recruiting and development. You have to start looking at development now as well, because Ladd was a kind of not even a thought, right? Last minute commit, and now you sit there. Ladd's a breakout star. Everybody kind of expected Brock Bowers. Obviously Georgia was going on him hard, but no one expected this level of production immediately, I would think. Right. So but
you know what though? It's a testament to Georgia. Next man up, and imagine if because you'll have some kids, they'll come in and they're just thinking to themselves, you know what, I'm going to redshirt, I'm going to get try to improve in the next year or two, I'm going to be better. Versus the Georgia's mentality seems to be, I'm going in there with the want to start. I don't care who's in front of me. I really don't. And so that's kind of, I think, the mindset that maybe a Brock Vanderbilt came in there with. JT Daniels is the starter. Beck is going to be the next guy. You also have Stetson Bennett, but I want to start. So if you have that type of mentality, then the work ethic and everything else, the mechanics, all of that's going to come into play, and then you're ready when your name is called. And that's exactly what happened with Bowers.
I agree. And you sit here and you look at, you also look at future commits too, right? Gunnar Stockton, right? Gunnar Stockton's committed, knows what he's got in front of him with Carson Beck, Brock Vandergrift. We obviously saw that game last year, I think it was. That was a beautiful game. So obviously you sit there, Georgia's finding these guys that aren't afraid of competition, right? Historically, you think you're sitting there, I'm just going to come in and walk my way through it, sleepwalk my way to a starting gig. No, that don't happen at Georgia. You sit there, you earn every single thing, and you just play. Right. So that's just a testament to the level of recruits. Look, and it also helps what you're seeing on the field. Defense, rotation. Guys getting a ton of reps. Offense, freshman playmakers, right? That's enticing to receiving recruits. That in the recently, even in the past, like maybe the last 5 years, these elite guys weren't really looking Georgia's way. We didn't pass the ball. So now you sit there, Georgia's identity's changing, right in front of our eyes. Yeah. The recruits are seeing that. The coaches, they're high school coaches. Hey, they mean it. You can give them a green light. Hey, look, take a look.
Yeah, well, look at Denylon Morissette. He was injured, for the first couple of games, and now he's stepped on the scene. This is a crazy prediction, but I see him coming in as a freshman, making plays early. He can completely take a game over. He's that good. I mean, I've watched him play all the way from 8th grade and followed his career, he can completely take over.
I mean, you're right. And looking over here, looking at Delp, Jay mentions in the comments, looking at Delp in recruiting part of the stand, no idea that the kid can ball until you watch tape. Look, and that's, like I said, that's just recognizing your guys, right? Like, that was something that A.D. Mitchell was, right? A.D. Mitchell. Obviously during the COVID situation, guys couldn't, the dead period extension, nobody could come to campus.
Yeah.
That was a cool story to hear from A.D. He legitimately was sending out workout tape enough times to where the coaches were like, hey, let's go check him out. Next thing you know, boom, flips from Ole Miss to Georgia because they went after him. Rest is history, So obviously the tape matters. So that's always a plus right there.
Yep.
So,
looks like we have somebody else that joined us, Joel. She was up there. I guess she was laughing at maybe one of our comments that we had. Joel, sorry, he was laughing at one of our comments. So
you're probably right.
Yeah.
Jay mentions give Monken a raise. I've seen enough. I mean, have you seen enough to merit this?
Yes, I do, because of the way that he's spreading the ball around. Think about what Ensminger, what he was doing at LSU when they won that national championship. You go to all year. You had your Biletnikoff winner that was there. I can't even think of his name. He was number one. That made great plays, but in that semifinals, it was number 2, Justin Jefferson. I mean, just absolutely just destroyed everybody. And then, of course, in the national championship, it was a mixture between Justin Jefferson and everybody else, and getting the running backs the ball. And so that is what Monken is doing. Monken is looking like, man, I have a gold mine in front of me. But listen, that's not even his full group. We've got some guys out. He doesn't even have the luxury right now of Darnell, or he doesn't have the luxury right now of Pickens. So when those guys get in there, man, it's gonna be tough.
Now, you mentioned the biggest name in my opinion, that's Pickens, right?
Yeah.
Looking at that right there, the possibilities are endless with my mind running with how we sit there and who we run on the field. Right? You bring in Darnell Washington, which tells me I think you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel, and that 12 personnel is going to be ridiculous. So I'm going to say it's going to be ridiculous because more likely, I love Fitz, but I think you're going to see a lot of Bowers and Darnell. So you sit there, right? And that, honestly, guys, if you're not familiar with the 12 personnel, that just basically means one running back, 2 tight ends. That opens up the run game, and it creates uncertainty. Because Monken has sat there and shown the tendency to use your tight ends, and you're still able to sit there and go into a 12 personnel, hit the ball, or hit the outside receivers, things like that. The level of uncertainty with Darnell being back in, it's going to be scary because he opens up the middle of the field down the seams. Yeah, and that's something that we haven't seen a lot yet. But I guarantee you, as Darnell gets into game shape,
and we still don't know what's up with Eric Gilbert. So that's another thing. Let's hope, obviously he's got some things that are going on, but let's hope that he's there somewhere, keeping in shape. So if you've got him, you get Pickens by the end of the season, you've got everybody healthy. I mean, it's Georgia may be able to go play like in the NFC South. And can compete against the Bucks, somewhere around there. Yeah. Ooh. I'm telling you, they are tough. They are absolutely with all those weapons on the field, plus their defense, they're going to be tough.
Obviously we talked about Eric Gilbert, right? I can't wait to see him back. Obviously whether it's this year, next year, obviously I can't wait to see that. But there is someone that's making a comeback, and then that's Coach Cochran. Coach, right? Obviously talking about it, Kirby mentioned yesterday, or Coach Smart mentioned he's back in a limited capacity, right? Expect to see him probably full-time within a couple of weeks. Obviously not rushing it. Glad to hear that they're not rushing that and let him kind of just, get under his own feet at his own pace. What are your thoughts on what Cochran will bring when he makes his appearance on the sidelines again?
I mean, just having that fire again, and there wasn't a lot of because you got Muschamp, who's got a lot of fire, who just kind of stepped in, but Coach Cochran, it's a lot of it is just the way that you as a player you respond to somebody that's going through some things, watching them go through it, and then coming back. It sends an energy and just a fire through you that just makes you. It's excited. And the fact that, these players, as a player, I'm going to say to myself, him making this comeback to be back on the sidelines makes me want to just go and run through a brick building, brick wall for him. And I think that he's just going to bring just excitement, when he makes it back.
Yeah, that's just a testament to his energy, right? That's the energy that he brings. It's contagious.
Yeah,
right? Like
it is.
You have to look at what he did at Bama. Now, he wasn't on the sidelines, but everybody knows him, and the kids loved him at Bama. So, obviously you see that right now. The kids love him here. The fact that he's on the sidelines, that brings a little juice that, Georgia has. I don't know if they necessarily need it, but what if in a time of controversy or adversity, he might provide that spark with his energy to get us over through that, right?
Yeah,
There's so much that you can look at. And obviously Jay mentions here, that we lose Muschamp on the sidelines when he comes back officially. I think that's a to be determined, probably. I think Jay's right there. But also I think you look at it as, I think I would rather have Cochran on the sidelines. Not saying nothing against Muschamp, but bring him back to his analyst role, keep him up in the, keep him wherever, off the sidelines. He doesn't need to be down there. Now, do I think that's helping us? Absolutely.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's got fire, he's got passion. I mean, just going back to watching him when he was at Auburn, watching him when he was at South Carolina, watching him, now he's always had that fire. He's always had that passion, and the same type of whatever it is that Kirby has. So I'm more surprised that they hadn't bumped heads and had like a little screaming match, because they both are less like. High strung and just kind of but they've managed it very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you would know.
Playing with both of them, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but I think that's a good thing. I think honestly, I look at it this way. I may be wrong. This is just how I feel it is. Obviously, Muschamp coming from South Carolina, taking that analyst role. I think he understood his niche. He didn't need to sit here and be in charge. Now, maybe the competitive side of him might bring that out some. But I just don't think he's in a situation where he feels the need to do that. So I feel like he may be okay with taking the backseat role and just giving Kirby, some pieces in his ear, what he's seeing that Kirby might not. And like I said, that's just a testament to having great defensive minds all on the sidelines, just all over the place in the coaching staff. I do want to read another comment here. Kind of going back here. I'm going to read two comments. Gilbert seeing all these tight ends thrive and wondering about what the receiver talk was all about. Look, to that, everybody's getting the ball. Receivers, tight ends, running backs, don't matter. You put him at wherever you want to put him, probably at receiver, like I said, don't matter. He's still going to get the ball. If he's open, he's going to get it. And Jay also mentions only beef with Muschamp on the sidelines, all the way down his nose.
Yeah.
I can't defend him on that. Can't do it. That's that old boot. That's that old boomer, right? That's that old boomer.
Yeah.
What you looking at, boy? That's how I feel about that. But, but still, look, I'll take his mind on the sidelines. That's just me.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But anyways, so we're gonna wrap this up here, and then we'll hit to the Q&A. But first, today is the last day of chat being unnamed. Tomorrow, chat will have a name, and we will announce that tomorrow. But first, to make your voice heard, go to dgdpodcast.com/poll and make your vote. Tally it up tomorrow. Juan, myself, be on here to announce the name moving forward for chat. So chat tomorrow will not be referred to as chat. It will not do that. Comment section will not be that. It will be a new name. And on that note, though, look, Juan, as always, thanks for coming on and giving me your insight. And go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
This is the DGD Podcast. Go Dogs.
And we are back for Q&A and comments. Juan, I do want to ask you, I know you had surgery yesterday, so it was like obviously, we had talked about it offline. Glad to see you back, right? Obviously, I was kind of worried about how it was going to go.
Yeah.
But, it's good to see you back. I know you're in the confines of your own home, down for a couple days.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there, obviously, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more here about our offense, right? And kind of get more of a preview for Arkansas. When you look at Arkansas's defense, I feel like they have this tendency to kind of replicate what we do. Do you see that, or do you see them playing a completely different style?
No, they have a similar style. The problem is the teams that they have played, are started off, I guess, maybe highly ranked. I didn't personally believe, especially when we did our power rankings, that Texas A&M should have been a number 17. I mean, they just should not have been. And then of course you look at Texas. Texas is not as strong as that they've been. So they've done a great job against them. They did let Texas score a lot of points. They did give up some points to, in their last game. So they do have a pretty good defense. Will they be able to stop us and the offensive weapons that we have? I don't think so. And I think that our defense is going to give us more opportunities to have the ball. So I think it's going to be a tough day for.
I really start to wonder though, because I think it's going to, everybody's looking at our defense as being super elite, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious to see how we stop that offense. And the X factor there is KJ Jefferson.
Yep.
Because if he's 100% healthy, or as close to 100%, we know that that's a fallacy, right, to be 100% right now. But if he's full health for what it's worth, I think he really does kind of make, a threat to Georgia's defense. I think this could be a very good indication of what we're going to see against Florida. Now, I think Arkansas is better than Florida overall.
Yeah.
And as the rankings show is one thing. I just believe that KJ Jefferson is better than Emory Jones. So how we handle KJ, in my opinion, we probably sit here and focus that same kind of mentality on Emory Jones with Florida and the cocktail party. Would that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, and here's a good thing is with the speed of our linebackers and the guys, KJ just hadn't been hit yet, and so it's one of those things that if he wants to take off and run, he gets hit, or he's sitting in the pocket trying to throw and gets absolutely blasted on. It's gonna be a whole different ball game, and we saw a little bit of the in the Vanderbilt game where they brought in their dual quarterback. He had, some success a little bit, but we'd already had our, 2s and 3s in there. So it wasn't really, but, so we know what to expect just from a pure running quarterback. We know what to expect from the pure passing quarterback that we got with DJ. I think that, again, once he gets hit, it's going to be something different.
Looking at the offense and what they run, they do a lot of misdirection. So, you look at the discipline for our defense. This is a testament to this right here. I feel like this defense is very disciplined, especially in the front seven. And honestly, that's where, the majority of the discipline is going to have to come in. So, you look at, obviously, I think you're going to see a guy you play a spy. One of the backers is probably going to have to spy at Jefferson because of his ability to run. Now, if he's not 100%, you sit there and you kind of tell it. Maybe Lanning sits there and kind of starts, sending him in, I kind of look at it in a sense of, does our defense stick to what we're doing? I think so. Just because we play Arkansas, you look at how we played against Clemson, right? I don't think DJ was as fast as KJ, right? I think KJ is a little bit more of an athlete, but I think you play the same game plan you come in, but you have to be disciplined. And I think you let the talent take over, but you have to understand Pittman here. He's going to have that mentality to beat you up front in the offensive line. That's just his niche. And I think, with Jordan Davis, look, I just don't know if anybody's going to stop Jordan Davis. I just don't know if anybody can do that.
It's not possible.
Look, that man, it's illegal to be that big. It should be illegal. and playing at that level.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So we got a question here from Jay. If Arkansas keeps it really close with Georgia, is it more of the same old, with Kirby keeping his buddies on opposite sidelines close? What do you think?
No, I mean, I don't think so. If the game is really close, then you're going to have to take your hat off to Pittman for having his boys ready and cranked up and ready to go. If Kirby has the opportunity, and I have yet to see him let up. I mean, I really had so. And you're thinking about it too. This is a top 10 matchup, right? If this were, if Arkansas is ranked 74th or something like that, I could kind of see something like that. But if you are the number two team in the nation, you're playing the number 10 team in the nation, you have to bury Arkansas.
And you look
also to know that Arkansas is going to play Alabama, so they're gonna see, who's the one that played against Arkansas better, who dominated, who completely, So Kirby, I mean, has the mindset of, I need to make sure we punish Arkansas and beat them worse than Alabama could even have an opportunity to.
I'm with you 100%. Looking at the looking at the scope of the NCAA, you have to understand that this year the eye test matters more than anything right now, because there's just a different level of parity that we're seeing. Georgia and Bama are the top two teams, and I think it's not even close after that, even to third. So, to what Juan said, I think, Jay, I think you're going to see this competition of who played these teams that they played together better. So Florida's going to make a difference, right? Bama got played close by Florida. If Georgia can sit there and just dominate and make it not even close, the media, and the national media, I should say, is going to notice that. You're going to sit there in Arkansas, the same thing. Auburn, same thing. You're going to see that. So it's basically Kirby's playing a competition against Saban right now, because it could determine who's number one at the end of the season. Obviously, it doesn't matter, because I think we're both on the collision course in Atlanta anyway. So we're going to play Bama anyway, more than likely. Yeah. However, it's not 100% sure that they can't get past Ole Miss, because that is a true test. And I don't think people are giving Ole Miss enough credit. A lot of people, that defense last year, Ole Miss was atrocious, but they've gotten better. But I think the true test is how much, and we're about to find out this Saturday. But to answer Jay's question, I think, we saw what happened against Clemson. We didn't throw up a lot of points, but our defense absolutely dominated the entire game. We never let up. We suffocated that offense for 60 minutes. Kirby's going to have that same philosophy, because I expect Arkansas to sit there and score more points, and Clemson for sure. But you have to offense. We have to execute. Defense, suffocate.
Agreed. Definitely.
Jay also says, let's see, Kirby hasn't really let up this year besides pulling JT out. And that's honestly keeping him healthy, right? Obviously, a lot of people want to see Beck, myself included. But I will gladly take a burying win every game, whoever we play. So I'm trusting Kirby on whoever he puts at quarterback. I got the faith in him. Whether it's Stetson or Beck, I don't care. I've at first, when Beck was the guy, I was happy. When Stetson came in, went off against UAB, happy about that, but still kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
I've just learned to not care who's at quarterback. If JT's healthy, don't really care who's at quarterback. As long as our offense is efficient, I'm perfectly fine with it. So if that means sitting him out in the first quarter after you throw up 5 touchdowns, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Let's see here. That are head and shoulders better than they were last year's Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Georgia. What are your thoughts on that, Juan?
I agree, because like you talked about earlier, Ole Miss was, their defense was awful. Arkansas, coming off of that 3-game, win season, and then of course Georgia. If you don't have a quarterback, a legit quarterback, nothing against Stetson Bennett, but he kind of got exposed against Florida and Alabama. and so those are especially the time that you're going to need that dominant guy to be in there. So, yeah.
And honestly, Jay, to answer, just have a thought here, food for thought. All three of those teams you listed have something in common: returning quarterbacks. And that matters. It absolutely matters. Facebook user. If you're on Facebook, by the way, guys, anybody on Facebook, I'm going to post a comment here for this. Use this link right here that I just popped up. Grant Raystream access so that we can see and chat with you on a more personal note. Because right now we just see Facebook user. But anyways, I'm also looking here that says Kirby finally realizes the eye test matters. I agree with that. He's forced to this year. He really is. Because Clemson, heading into the season, Clemson, number 3, right, Georgia 5, we expected it to be a slobber knocker, and it was. It was an ugly game from an offensive standpoint. Defensive brilliance. A low-scoring game, we won. But what happens after? Clemson starts falling off to the point where they're, 25th now? I want to say they're 25th. It's just gotten to the point where Clemson's struggling because they don't have the offensive output.
Right.
So the eye test does matter, right? You're going to have people sitting here going against it, though, taking the Clemson win that we had and saying, well, Clemson ain't shit right now. Well, we can't help them after we play them. We can't help what happens. We just play them at the time. Let's see here. Stetson was beating Florida until he got injured. Look, we just got beat last year in the cocktail party. I heard a lot of things, and the logic makes sense. We miss a lot of starters on defense for sure. But at the end of the day, when you're a team like Georgia and you recruit as well as you do, that's no excuse. That's why, looking at what we're doing this year, right, all the rotation, getting these guys reps, we're preparing ourselves to not have that excuse come the cocktail party again. Period.
Yeah, you're right.
Jay was talking about late hit on the TD pass, 14-0 real quick. I'll tell you what, though. What do you think? We'll go back to the Vanderbilt game. What was your most impressive? I don't know. There was a bunch of stats that came from that game. I want to say Georgia scored 8 touchdowns. They gave up 4 first downs. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. I think that was impressive that they had more touchdowns than Vanderbilt had or that had first downs. I mean, to me, that is probably the most impressive stat because a couple of those first downs came on the second and third string. So the mobile quarterback, he was able to make a couple of runs and get, I want to say on one drive, he ended up getting 2 first downs. So you're meaning to tell me that he was responsible for 2 of the 4 first downs that's just amazing. I mean, it really is.
That stat tells me exactly what I need to be. And it's a perfect reflection of a complete game.
Yeah.
Absolutely dominating offense to score 8 touchdowns for one, but to limit a team to 4 first downs, it shows an excellent, almost 100% output on your defense. That's a balanced, dominating game. That right there is what Georgia's expectations are. They did that in passing with flying colors, which is why I feel comfortable with saying that this could very well be the year. You hear that cliche statement. I get it. You're going to hear 1980 until we win a damn national title. Until then, I really, I don't like that statement, but it's hard to see through 4 games. There's things that I'm ready to see what happens in the last, the middle quarter here, or the mid-third of it, I should say. But through 4 games, there's nothing telling me that this couldn't be the year. By all means, there's no way that you're not telling me that this couldn't be the year.
Yeah, you're right. Shout out to Pete Williams. So he says when you can't see who it is on Facebook, it's Pete Williams. So what's going on, Pete?
Yes, sir. Jay also has a question here, Juan. Does Georgia have a tendency to lose to a coach right before they get fired? Do they try to keep opponents' coaches? Do they try to keep coaches around? Example, last Gator coach Muschamp, Tennessee, things like that. You can also go back to Spurrier, right? Made Spurrier retire.
Yeah. That happens sometimes. I guess you could. I guess you could say that. Yeah, I don't know what it was about Spurrier that he just had our number, man. It's just, I don't get it. But
I think it's because he was at Florida. Because you saw now, to your credit here, Florida with Spurrier there as the head coach. That was just a different team, but he also had a ton of different talent, right? A completely different level of talent, and really the mentality. I think the mentality was still the same, but that just shows, the mentality was the same to try to beat you by however many. As you know, that's what he did at Florida.
And that's what he made it so dumb. And I would tell people, like, and I think Rick was good for the program. But if you were to have, with all that talent and all those number 1, 2, 3, 4 classes that they got in, if you would have had a Steve Spurrier coaching that group, they would have been 4, 5, 6 times national champions. I mean, imagine giving Spurrier Matthew Stafford and Noshawn Marino and Fred Gibson and AJ Green and all that. Just imagine what would happen.
2017 was Spurrier.
Yeah. Yes.
Hell, for that matter, sticking to Georgia alone, give me Kirby Smart in 2007. Right. Because to me, that was the most talented Georgia team to just waste a year. But I think looking at that 2007 team, it was as soon as you hit an ounce of adversity, it crumbled. That's the way it felt.
Yeah.
But you give me Spurrier or you give me Kirby for that matter, that team's a national title contender, and it's not even close. That team was just way too talented. And just get in my feels right now. Thanks for bringing that up by 2007. It hurts me because you look at, that offense was just ridiculous. Yeah. My favorite, one of my favorites, most underrated receivers, Muhammad Masquoi. Loved Muhammad Masquoi. Everybody focused on AJ Green, and you still couldn't stop him. Right. But then you had to worry about Noshawn. Stafford could throw the ball 100 damn yards.
Yep. Then you had Brown in the backfield. You had, Craig Lumpkin in the backfield. I mean, you had like a three man go in the backfield. They were tough.
Juan, we might have to do this real fast. Sit here and create an all-time Georgia team on offense and just see what would happen. Maybe whether it be like maybe this is just literally just off the top of my head, like your quarterback, just kind of an all-time Georgia team, and just sit here and see what we could come up with. I think that right there would be just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia's loaded. They've had legendary players on every position, right? So it would be interesting to see what that offense would be. Who you would pick, who I would pick. I think we're gonna have to do that. That'd be worth it. I think that'd be worth it.
You're right.
That'd absolutely be worth it. But kind of go back here. Oh, hold on. Ooh. So Jay says most impressive dominating hit in NCAA football was the Citrus Bowl hit that Clowney hit on that running back. Well, I think what caught me off guard more with that, and not really caught me off guard, but just amazed me more, wasn't the hit. It was the scoop with one hand while he was rolling.
Yeah.
That right there, like the hit was one thing. You saw that coming. I was like, oh, he's about to get leveled. But then having the ability to sit there and on the ground just flipping it, right? Ridiculous. That's what made that more impressive to me. The hit is one thing, right? I've seen some ridiculous hits. Greg Blue. Yeah. Loved Greg Blue, right? Lewis Seen, even though it was targeting, I can't wait. I'm telling you right now, that targeting rule better get changed. I hate that damn rule. You being a receiver, I guess I do want to kind of get your thoughts on this because I don't know if we vary on differences here with this, but I think it's that you're at a definite disadvantage as a defender because you can't dictate a receiver's ability or instinct to kind of brace for impact. And so you look at these games where the Auburn Penn State game, I thought that was a ridiculous call to sit there and my man was trying to stop the receiver from going across the line. You're down in the red zone, So you hit him, but you get called for targeting. I thought that was just a blatant missed call in my opinion. What are you supposed to do? Let him score? What are your thoughts on the target rule? I feel like it's got to change.
Yeah. We actually, me, you, and Brad, we talked about, we talked about this when because he's a defensive back.
Yep.
And targeting. I mean, those are bang bang plays. I mean, they are bang bang plays, and you are playing defense. Now, if a guy is being held up, and then you're like maybe 5 or 6 yards away, and then you run in there, and then that's going to be targeting. That is going to be, but and it's kind of like when it was bad when Pitts got hit, last year. I mean, he got absolutely decapitated, but it's a bang bang play. Like that's so me as a receiver, I took 2 bad hits, and when I look back at those bad hits, like they were on me. Because I need to, obviously, when the ball is in the air, I need to be aware of my surroundings. There's ways that I can, turn or, contort to where I can be able to take a hit and be okay with it. And I think a lot of these receivers, they're just running, and you're supposed to focus on the ball, but at some point in time, you have peripheral vision and you need to see what's going on so you can jump and make any type of adjustment, and that's not what's happening. I think a lot of these receiver coaches are not teaching their guys that hey, you got to make sure that you can twist and turn and do all this to keep yourself from taking this blow.
I kind of, obviously I think, everybody's going to have their thoughts on how to correct this and make it optimal. You look at soccer, right? You look at like a card situation, right? To determine the severity of it. Right? Like you get a yellow card, right? Obviously that's not as severe as your red card. Your red card being your flagrant, like just blatantly obvious ones, right? Like you said, going up to catch it, and they do from like 5 yards away, just comes head first, just bam, something like that's. And really, I really think that what we're seeing so far in college football is the inconsistency, and that's what's really just upsetting and really just pissing everybody off. Is the inconsistency at what is being, what the rules are. So I think, in my opinion, to fix it, I think what you could do, give the referees the judgment from the field. I think some things you can't see, sure, replay it, right? Replay it if you need to. I'm glad that you have replay for things like this so that, obviously in the heat of the moment, these guys might not see that. Put eyes on it from a slowed down. And you can honestly look at the intent, right? You can see if there's intent there. You can see if it was just, kind of incidental, a la Pitts scene, things like that, But also I think you have, if you do that, first off, the ejections have to stop, right? Especially after one, right? If make it a 15-yard penalty, absolutely. But I really think that the ejection, even though they altered it to where you can stay on the field for one. And I just don't like that. So if you get one, it's a 15-yard penalty. It's kind of like unsportsmanlike conduct. But if you get a second one, sure, you're ejected. Fair, right? Because, like you said, receivers, have the ability to do that. Whether it's coaching or whatever. But you're really putting a disadvantage on the defense. And you're starting to see guys. Do you expect them to sit there and shy away from a contact hit? No. They're going for the ball too.
Yeah.
So you have to be fair, in my opinion, because like you said, Pitts tucked, right? And really it was a shoulder contact, but Pitts ducked and it just caught him in the head. Now he did get decapitated, like you said.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look at, and I hope they do it in the offseason.
Yeah. Like I said, these are bang bang plays. I mean, it is the speed of the game and how quickly these things are happening, and there's a lot of reacting that's going on, and I don't think any of it is calculated, especially if it's that quickly. I don't see anybody saying I'm going to lower my helmet and try to take this guy's helmet. It's like I need to make the tackle, or I need to make a play on the ball, or I need to do something to help my team, because if you don't, again, like you said, if the guy has an opportunity in that Auburn game, if he just lays up and says, oh, I don't want to get a targeting call, and then I'm just going to let him score, that guy probably won't touch the field again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a complete disadvantage on the defense. that's why I think you have to come up with something, to make it uniform, because like I said, the inconsistency is what's really making this rule terrible.
Yeah.
You hear all the media folks talking about how bad of it, like it needs to be changed, things like that. It definitely is time. We've had long enough, and we've seen the inconsistencies. We've seen Ohio State target and not get called. We've seen plays where it shouldn't be targeting and it is. Just a complete level of just inconsistency. Jay asked, I don't know this, Jay, but there was a receiver in the pros that said not catching the ball over the middle was a business decision, and I don't know who that was.
Yeah, I don't either.
Sorry,
I do remember the quote, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I remember. I can't put my head on it. I don't know who it was. I really don't. Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here, though. I think that was a good segment to kind of end up on. But remember, tune in tomorrow. Yep, tune in tomorrow. It's going to be another good show. I think we really have to do a good in-depth analysis on Arkansas because it's the biggest game of the season for us. Obviously, in hindsight, looking at Clemson, it's turning out to not be the greatest game that we play in. But I definitely think that this is going to be a huge matchup, so it's worth looking into and kind of analyzing it on a good level here. So let's wrap it up for today. Like I said, come back at it tomorrow. Bring your hats, bring your lunch bells. We're going to work tomorrow. Wait a minute. Jay mentions T.O. or the receiver. I think he was talking about Crabtree.
Yeah, Crabtree, yeah.
It may have been. It may have been.
Yeah.
May have been. Sounds about right. On that note, guys, hey, look, make sure dgdpodcast.com/poll. Go vote. I want to hear your voices here. There's some good names out there. There's some good names. I'm not going to spoil them. That's why you got to go look and make your vote. Like I said, be on here tomorrow. We're going to name the chat. We'll figure out something to make it, to make it nice and everything. But, on that note, though, guys, Juan, great show. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to go ice my knee.
Hey, yep.
Yes,
Rice it.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Look, thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions. Come back. No, you do not need an ID to vote. You do not need an ID to vote. I should make it, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But look, come back ready. More questions, more comments. Stick around for tomorrow.
Hurricane Tigers. Yeah.
Yep. We'll be here full force, ready to go and ready to answer them bad boys.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Likewise, guys. Y'all have a great